the matter of fake animals is interesting, I think. Um, it's one area of research that conspiracy theorists don't like to go to because it sounds too weird. But of course, we have to be wary. But I certainly think that use has been made of animals to deceive mankind. Um, Animals like sloths and koala bears, for example, whether they be real or fake, and I'm more inclined to believe that they are not real. Don't they? They're just used for hoax coding, like pandas also, which is another animal that falls into this highly suspect category. For solid reasons as well. People hear these claims and think that they're just mad, but you have to look into stuff. Pandas are named after a Roman goddess, the goddess Juno, also known as Impanda. And of course, they have their black and white, which is a very popular type of alternation in some circles, as do emperor penguins and zebras. The zebra. I think there was great hilarity when it was suggested that zebras were just painted horses. And then, if you look into it, you discover that there was indeed a practice of painting horses with stripes in the 1800s, and there is photographic evidence. Was it Lord Rothschild that used to drive his carriage around, pulled ostensibly by 4 zebras, but they were actually painted horses? They're curious things, these. You can't. One has to be careful in forming an opinion of reality. I think our opinions hold us; they trap us to a certain extent. But the real the most important animal, really, from a biblical perspective, would be the great apes and the gorillas. Those are the animals that really were so instrumental in shaking faith in our unique nature in the eyes of God, because they're so human-like. And of course, great use was made of this in Hollywood. The anthropomorphism reached hitherto unseen heights. I remember when I was growing up, my father used to frighten me with stories of gorillas suddenly appearing, these huge black creatures with gaping mouths, beating their chests, and fierce as 10 legions of soldiers. But in actual fact, according to the scientific facts, those creatures, if they do indeed exist, they eat just leaves and stuff like that, and bulbs and shoots, and a few ants. It seems to be, if that were the process of evolution, you wouldn't need to be so big and fierce to eat a leaf. But so they are. But again, if you see, because gorilla suits have always been a part of filmmaking. That's the problem. There's a long tradition of gorilla suits, and one begins to wonder whether the gorilla suits preceded the gorilla. This is the problem, you see, because early footage of apparently real gorillas clearly is showing um, people wearing fursuits, because examining carefully details which would not be allowed today because the state of the art is much more refined. It's odd that that should have happened, that there should be cases of that, recognizable cases. And the gorillas that appear in early footage don't seem to be the same as the ones that we have these days. They've changed them a bit. It would be an astonishing deception, would it not? But so effective in perverting the word of God, I think. The great apes. Then you have the orangutans, which they're curious also because of their orange colouring. If anybody listening know that orange is a code number. Orange is used. I forget what it corresponds to now, but it has some mad mystical significance as a colour. But orangutans are extremely agile, whereas gorillas are more sort of seem to just trundle around. Orangutans leap; they are absolute acrobats. So if they were suits, they would have to be very able actors inside of those suits. Which doesn't mean that they couldn't exist. That it would be all the more remarkable. And then, of course, the whole primate. What are they? A genus or something like that? It's not a species. Genus, maybe. All the primates resemble people to some extent, because they have a hand, even though the thumb is arranged differently. They have the feet. They have a similar body style, although they are very different. There's no confusing them. And clearly monkeys are real. We know that. I don't think there's any question that could be faked. But gorillas can be, because you can only really go and see the gorillas in the wild. You have to be taken by the rangers, and they have hordes of people arriving every day and getting taken to see gorillas playing in the wild at a certain distance. That wouldn't be at all difficult really to fake. It would just be a theatrical show. A bit like taking people down to the South Pole, I suppose, or to the North Pole. You don't really know where they are. I mean, maybe they are at the South and North Pole, and we do live on a spinning ball just for fairness. I don't know. I mean, I haven't got the inside information. I think it's quite unlikely. I haven't seen any evidence for that. Not directly. But again, what do I know? I'm not a traveller. I haven't been very far. The furthest I went, I think, is Morocco. And I stayed in Rabat, near Rabat, with a friend of mine. Had a very pleasant time. Very interesting country. And I also stayed for one night in Casablanca. But I haven't been any further than that. I don't particularly want to go any further than that. My preference is to stay close to home if I can. I'm hoping this summer to be able to walk, to be able to take a long hike and camp out. And ideally, I would start from my house. The walk would start from my house. So I won't have to use the car at all. It's not that I'm against cars. I like, I'm against, I don't like the way that they get used very much. But I do like cars quite a lot, except mainly the old ones. I'm not really into the new kinds of cars that they have. They just seem to me to be naff. They've got no real appeal to me. I don't know how to say it. As I go out the road, he's got a Jaguar Super V8, which is like a racing green with beige upholstery, just sitting on his drive. It's a beautiful car. But I enjoy walking. I find driving to be tedious, and it's a hassle. And where are you going to leave the car and all the rest of it? I'd sooner just walk, or take the train. I suppose I can take the train, can't I? And the train will take me to an outlying spot, and from there I can walk somewhere. I think a little bit of planning might be advisable, but I could go to the coast. That would be my preference, but I can't, from my experience, personal experience, really. What can I possibly have to say about gorillas or the shape of the earth? It's just conceit. But I do rely on the evidence of my senses, and so I don't feel any spinning around. I don't see any curves. And I see the firmament of heaven stretched out above me. And the stars don't seem to move very much, Certain stars, I know some stars move on a yearly cycle. I don't know much about stars. Yes, the fact that the stars move on a yearly cycle, to me, that I really can't grasp how they can possibly claim that we are therefore hurtling through space independently of the stars. To me, the whole concept of the speed of light is a misconception, because light is a holy property. It's not a physical parameter as such. It's a state of being, and it either is or it is not. It doesn't travel, and our eyes know that it doesn't travel through space, because we perceive it instantly. When a light is lit in the very far distance, there will be no moment when you don't perceive that light. As soon as it is brightened. It's a it's a state somehow. It doesn't travel. So all the claims about the speed of light and this over, they're not really true. That's why they couldn't understand light. Light was used as the basis for the whole quantum um, theory stuff, which leads to the Kabbalah. And the reason that they got into that was because of the double slit experiment, wasn't it? When they decided, oh, light is both a wave and a particle. Did they say it was? Just, this is just mysticism. That's what it is. So they make, there are claims are made on the basis of the speed at which light travels. As if that were a measurable and real thing, and they say that sometimes it takes an entire year. God bless.